your girl Talia, and I'm back with another video. I did just do a makeup video, but I feel like maybe 10% of you guys saw that video. I was dead for a couple weeks. I apologize. I just needed to take a break from my physical and mental health. So I'm back. I'm trying to get back into the routine of posting every Friday, but although I did just do a makeup video, this is not just any makeup video. I'm doing another crime and makeup type video. I still don't have a name for this, so if you have any ideas, leave them down below. I would love to know what ideas you have. But basically, this is a new thing that I'm trying on my channel, and it's inspired by one of my favorite YouTubers, Bailey Sarian. I hope I'm saying her name right. She does videos where she does her makeup while talking about crime stories. I'm a big fan of spooky stuff, and I also love doing makeup, so it's like the perfect combination. Some of you guys weren't digging my first one, but a lot of you guys were and wanted me to do another one, so here I am. Also, before we get started, all of the products that I'm going to be using will be down below, just so I don't have to interrupt what I'm saying to show you guys what I'm using. One other thing, I'm sorry this intro is getting too long. Some of you guys were complaining about the cuts in the first one that I did, but I don't have this story memorized and I don't want to miss anything or like say a wrong detail. So I have my notes here of the story. That's why there's cuts, because I have to read them and then tell you. So bear with me. I will probably get better at this as I keep doing them. Also, one other thing, I'm the type of person that tends to lighten the mood by making jokes even when it's not really the right time for jokes. I'm gonna try not to do that as much as I did in the first one. It's not me being insensitive, it's just me dealing with it kind of thing. Do you get what I'm saying? Anyways, we're gonna get right onto this video, but before we do, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up to let me know that I should keep making these videos. Subscribe down below, click that notification bell so you know when I post a new video. Join the Vanilla Cake fam, I would absolutely love to have you part of it. And without further ado, let's put my face on. So today we're talking about the murder of Russell and Shirley Dermond. This story, you guys aren't ready for it. Russell and Shirley Dermond were an elderly couple that lived along scenic Lake Oconee in Georgia, about an hour east of Atlanta. The couple were enjoying their cozy retirement lifestyle in their 4-bedroom home that was valued around $1 million. The both of them were originally from New Jersey, and they had been married for over 60 years. How crazy is that? Good for them. Russell had also actually served in the U.S. Navy during World War II, but during his return, he became an executive for a clock manufacturer. Meanwhile, Shirley took the role of the housewife, taking care of their 4 children. In the 1980s, they decided to relocate their family to Georgia for Russell's semi-retirement. Russell was tired of the daily hustle, so he wanted to move to a more casual line of work. So they moved to the city on the outskirts of Atlanta, and Russell began managing the fast food chain Hardee's. As the kids grew up, they started helping managing the restaurants, and slowly but surely, Russell started taking the backseat, which is exactly what he wanted. Backseat, aka retirement. In 1999, whoop whoop, the best year, the two started making plans to move to a gated community nearby a golf course and Lake Oconee. Russell enjoyed playing golf, so it was kind of a match made in heaven. But as they were planning this move, tragedy struck the family. Their oldest son, Mark, was killed trying to buy drugs near Atlanta. His killer was found and convicted, but I feel like that made them want to move sooner, just to get out of the big city, because they did move the very same year in 2000. Their house was a decent size. They had their own private deck, which was surrounded by trees. It was a very safe and private community, so they could just relax. Over the 14 years that they spent there, they became embedded into the community. They were relatively private people, but they attended church every Sunday, and they formed a small group of friends inside their community. I move so often, I can't even imagine staying in a house for 14 years. That seems like so long to me, but I bet some of you haven't even moved in your life, so it's not abnormal, just abnormal to me, I guess. But they loved their house so much that they told their children that they want their ashes spread around Lake Oconee. But no one expected that time to come as soon as it did, and under such crazy circumstances. Saturday, May 3rd, 2014 was the day of the 140th Kentucky Derby, which is a major horse racing event, if you didn't know, and Russell and Shirley were invited to the watch party for the event. but the two of them didn't show up. And as you probably could have guessed, it was very unlike them. Although they would typically call or apologize afterwards for not showing up, their friends know that life happens and no red flags were shown right away. However, when the entire day passes and Sunday comes around and no one has heard anything still, people try to call and still can't get a hold of them. Monday comes and goes, then Tuesday, May 6th comes and their friends decide to go to their house to check in. As they approach their driveway, they notice something strange right away. Today's paper was still in the driveway, but not only today's paper, but also Monday's paper. So their concern just continues to grow as they approach the door. They knocked a couple of times and got no response, so they decide to reach for the door handle and it was unlocked. So they enter the house and search for them. Still no sign of them. And that's when they make their way to the garage, where they find something absolutely scarring, terrifying, all of the above. Russell and Shirley's cars were still parked in the garage, but laying on the garage floor was a body. The neighbors believed it was Russell's body, but couldn't be sure. And you guys, they couldn't tell whose body it was because the body had been decapitated. And the head was nowhere at the scene. Creepy, right? They didn't look any further, they fled the house and called 911. Could you imagine coming across that? I would be scarred for the rest of my life. Like, that's horrifying. You hadn't seen your friend in a couple days at school, so you go and check her house and she's just there, decapitated. No thank you. Police quickly identified the dead body as 88-year-old Russell Dermond. Again, with his head nowhere to be found and nowhere to be seen. And just like his head, his wife, 87-year-old Shirley Dermond, was nowhere to be found. The murder alarmed investigators right away because they'd never seen a crime like this happen in such a quiet, safe community. They quickly set out to determine what happened, but it was difficult as there wasn't much evidence. What they could determine was Russell was decapitated where his body was found, in the middle of the garage in between their two cars. He had been found lying on his back in a pool of his own blood, which had started drying up around him. Police later disclosed that the person of this crime placed towels around the body so that the blood wouldn't stream down into like the driveway so people would notice. So obviously that delayed the time of the bodies being found. Again, as mentioned, he was found where he was decapitated, but that doesn't mean that's where he actually died. When they searched the house, there was not really any evidence. There was no sign of forced entry, nothing was missing, no jewelry, no cash. The house was spotless, which is pretty strange. So the investigators started to try and figure out the 5 big whys. Who, where, what, when, and why? Why would someone commit a crime like this? I don't understand why anyone kills anybody, but this is just so messed up. As they started to try and figure out the details of the case, the big pressing issue was, where is Shirley? And where's the guy's head? As mentioned, nothing had been taken from the house, so her purse and her phone were still there, and the police started a search with big search equipment and dogs. Meanwhile, friends and family were just praying to God that she wasn't dead. So almost right away, billboards were secured with Shirley's picture on it, with a phone number so that if anyone knew anything, they could contact the police. Many thought that she had been kidnapped, but Friday, May 16th, 10 days after finding Russell's body, fishermen discovered a body floating face down in the lake, which was determined to be Shirley. And this is crazy. Her body was found bloated up to 2 times her original size due to how long she was in the water. So of course this led police to believe that her body was in there for a very long time, if not the whole time of Russell's death. So the discovery was found just 5 miles away from the couple's home. So during the search, they did search the lake, but her body had been tied down by concrete blocks that were tied to her ankles. And whoever killed her pulled her out to the deepest part of the lake, which is about 50 feet. It's pretty scary. Unlike her husband, Shirley had not been decapitated, but they did find injury to her head. It was later revealed that she was struck in the head multiple times by an object that was similar to a claw hammer, but thankfully there was no sign of sexual assault. In the following days, they went on to search for a murder weapon or even her husband's head, which was unsuccessful, unfortunately. Now, the police found it strange that there wasn't a single thing that pointed to someone that would want to harm them in their life. There was no motive for this, you know, like it was just so random out of the blue. Investigators found that the days leading up to the murders, that their day was pretty boring, pretty normal. Nothing unusual, filled with walks and errands and visits with their friends. On the Friday, Russell was spotted by his neighbor on a walk, which he did regularly, and Shirley had finished a word search in the daily newspaper. But their trail ends there, which means the killer could have struck any time that weekend. Now, the neighbors didn't report any commotion or anything of that sort, so the police kind of had to guess when it happened. Their best estimate was the killer likely struck the next day, May 3rd, which was the same day as that Derby watch party that they missed. Now, they came up with this because the mail that they had left in their mailbox led up to that day. And they think it was very early because Shirley was found in her everyday clothes, but Russell was found still in his pajamas. Now, the community the couple was living in did have security cameras, which recorded every person that came into the community, but they weren't working at the time. A storm had hit the region, which resulted to screwing up the security system, and no one was even aware of it until the police asked for the footage. So that's great. But police actually believed the killer approached from the lake. And this isn't a tiny lake. This isn't a private lake. Like, anyone can access it. The couple's estate had a private dock which had a walkway leading up to their house, so the killer could have approached from a boat and then entered the house through the back door. And if so, no one would have seen them because they were tucked into the back of a cul-de-sac. So police found gunpowder residue on Russell's collar of his shirt, so it was assumed that he was shot and then decapitated. Now, the cut to his neck was extremely clean, as if the killer had really taken his time. He was in no rush, and it's almost like he used the collar of his shirt as a guide and used an extremely sharp knife. So that's kind of weird. Now, roughly 1 year after the murders, the sheriff had told reporters that the police had been told about a man found on the Dermond property. However, he could not identify who he was, and he was only stating that a witness had saw him, no more information. Because there's so much information on this case that's unknown, a large part of the reportings were focused on theories. Some people believe that this was a double murder and it was connected to their son Mark's killing. But again, the man was found and convicted and is behind bars and remained behind bars during this killing, so it doesn't really line up. The other theory was this was the work of a hitman, which again doesn't really make sense because they were both killed in different ways and both found separately, so I just feel like that doesn't really add up either. I don't know, it just doesn't seem right. Although they do have a main theory that investigators played with, which was that this murder was actually carried out by more than one person, who likely acted in tandem while carrying out some other crime. Investigators believe that extortion may have been the killer's original plan, perhaps planning to kidnap Shirley and hold her for ransom while keeping Russell at the house to make sure everything went according to plan. Or maybe threatening to kill Russell in front of Shirley so that she would cooperate, and she didn't, and things didn't go according to plan. If he was shot, I wonder why nobody heard the gun go off. Isn't that really loud when you hear that? Those are all just theories. What if the killer didn't even have a motive, which is really scary to think about, but what I think is most likely what happened. There's some crazy twisted people out there, so I don't doubt it. Sorry, I cannot talk while putting on dark lipstick. It's a scary thing. But what do you guys think happened? Let's discuss in the comments. Do you believe in any of the theories? Do you think that the killer just killed for the sake of murdering someone? Also, Russell's head, where is it at? Probably at the bottom of the lake. Do heads float? But let's talk in the comments. This is a really creepy case. I feel really bad for the old couple. I feel like they were just trying to live their best life and then out of nowhere. But thank you so much for watching. Again, if you do enjoy these kinds of videos, the crime and makeup, make sure you give it a big thumbs up to let me know. I love you so, so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!